I'm Willie Smits from Indonesia. I'm an Ashoka fellow and proud to be part of that network. And I hope lots of people are going to join us and be change makers for the world.
Willie, would you like to talk a little bit about how you got into this work?
Actually, completely by coincidence. I was from early on really a nature boy. I started writing about the behavior of owls when I was 12, making nature movies. I really was an ornithologist, and my dream was to be a veterinarian. But when I finished high school and there was this introduction day to the university in the veterinary faculty, the train was late, it was raining, the bus didn't connect, the lights were out in that building, and there were a couple of very boring people with beards saying, you won't have a chance, you won't get a job and this. So I decided that was a place that I would never ever go back to, this city of Utrecht in the Netherlands. And a couple of my classmates happened to have a father that bought a house, and there was 4 rooms and they were 3. So they said, well, there's a room free, why don't you come? That's how I ended up in the city of Wageningen, where there's an environmental university. And after 3 years doing only sport, partying, nature club, I was called in by the dean and told, you have only finished 1 year of study and you have to go in 6 weeks. And when I walked out of that room, there was a little poster hanging just outside of his door. First lecture of Professor Olderman, new professor in tropical forestry. And somehow I, dazed, decided to go past that lecture room. I sat in the back, and it was on the way to my house, and he started talking, and it was fascinating about the interaction between plants and animals and the architecture of trees. And I thought, gosh, you've been wasting your life here. So the next 6 weeks I finished so much of my studies that I could go back to the dean and said, well, I'm ahead of schedule now, can I stay? And okay, I could stay, and that's how I ended up studying forestry. And when I finished my MSc in forestry, in genetics and tropical soil science, I wanted to go to a place where none of our university people had ever been. So they sent me off to work deep in the jungle in a timber concession with a group of Dayaks, inventory of the forest. And there I had my first real experiences and insights, getting to know the forest. And we noticed there was this big problem with the regeneration of the trees. So I started realizing that sometimes you have to look for solutions in unforeseen corners of the science fields. So I wrote a book about that, and then I was invited to work permanently in Indonesia and to do reforestation. I trained about 1,150 Indonesian foresters. I trained about 200 foresters from all over Southeast Asia, more than 20 countries. And I started supervising PhD students in those fields until that fatal day in October 1989, when on the market in Balikpapan I came across a dying orangutan baby that gave a completely new turn to my life. When I was taking care of 2 orangutan babies in my family, I really noticed there wasn't a lot of difference with my children in that they react in the same way, and every mother can tell you that her baby is hungry or has a headache or is tired or a stomach ache. They just know it, you don't need language for that. And when my children started talking, the orangutans were actually also developing further, but they do have an inherent capability of understanding human communication, even grammar and basic understanding of abstract thinking in algebra. So that really got me on a completely different trail, and seeing what was happening to the orangutans in the most horrible conditions, being kept somewhere, even used as prostitutes, others were being eaten, and I just felt this is not right, this is injustice. So I looked at what the other projects were doing, but most of them had to do more with tourism and nice pictures than really with providing these orangutans with a safe haven. So I decided to do something myself. So what can I possibly do to protect that house of the orangutans, and so that my Uche and my Dodoi will be safe in the trees there? So I thought, wait a minute, when I got married, I had to pay the dowry in the form of 6 sugar palms, and I've been studying them, and they have an incredible productivity, and they have all these ecological benefits and economically interesting. Why shouldn't I do that? In order to make that sugar palm process possible, you need a range of technologies, but you also need a range of organizational structures that can guarantee transparency, that can guarantee democracy. And therefore, we wanted to work also only with ethical investors. And Ashoka is helping me, and the organization we're setting up, which is tapworld.org Foundation and Tapperg, to develop the criteria for the rollout of this program. So they are helping us pro bono with legal services through their cooperation with a network of lawyers around the world. And they're helping us also in context with the IFC, trying to find the most suitable financial systems to roll out a program which is based upon a very high ethical and environmental and social standard for local conditions. If we can get that done for Indonesia, later we're hoping that rolling it out to other tropical countries where sugar palms are also capable of growing and producing very well and producing 20 times more jobs per hectare per year than oil palm or sugarcane can, and do it in a sustainable way without fertilizer while reducing the climate change effects, yeah, then we could have something really big at our hands. So it has to be done in a very well thought through way. And all these experts, social and other fellows of Ashoka are wonderful in sharing their special know-how with us to do this kind of rollout.